everyone, it's me again for another video in Top Secret Travel Tips. Today, let's talk about what you need to know before taking the Alaskan cruise. But before that, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell for you to be updated with our latest videos. Now, let's talk about itinerary. When it comes to planning your Alaskan cruise, there are several options to consider. You can opt for a round trip from either Seattle or Vancouver, or choose a one-way journey typically from Seattle to Seaward. Additionally, there's the possibility of traveling from Seaward down to Vancouver or Seattle. It's worth noting that all Alaskan cruises include stops in Canada due to maritime laws, with Juneau being a common port of call before the itinerary varies. One crucial aspect to pay attention to when selecting your cruise itinerary is ensuring that it includes a visit to one of the glaciers, whether it's Hubbard Glacier, Glacier Bay, or another glacier. I recommend prioritizing Glacier Bay if you're only going to experience it once. Glacier Bay is a national park, and having park rangers aboard to provide information enhances the experience significantly. A day spent cruising through Glacier Bay can actually be one of the most relaxing days of the cruise. The visual stimulation of observing the glaciers and the breathtaking scenery is incredibly rewarding. It's recommended to wake up early to secure a good spot near the window, as you'll want to spend the entire day gazing at the magnificent views, and you won't be alone in doing so. Apart from the itinerary and the places you want to visit, choosing the right cruise line is the second most important factor to consider. It's essential to do some research and decide which cruise line suits your preferences. If you're looking for a family-friendly experience with a wide range of activities, options like Royal Caribbean, Disney, or NCL might be suitable. If you prefer a more relaxed atmosphere, you can consider Princess or Celebrity. Alternatively, if you're interested in an expedition-style cruise that allows you to explore the last frontier more intimately, you can opt for smaller, more expensive lines like Viking or Silver Sea. Holland America is also worth considering. There are many other cruise lines available, so it's important to explore and find the one that best fits your needs and preferences. In addition to considering the destinations visited by the cruise line, it's important to take note of the duration of your stay in each port. Some larger ships, especially Norwegian Cruise Line or NCL ships, in my experience, may have shorter port stays. It's worth checking the itinerary to ensure that you have sufficient time to explore and enjoy each port. In Sitka, there is a bus that you need to wait for, and wait time can be quite long. Once on the bus, it takes about 15 to 30 minutes to drive into town. It's important to consider this additional travel time when planning your activities. You may end up spending around an hour or more just getting to and fro from the ship and the actual town. For example, if you're on the Norwegian Encore or Bliss and you're going to Ketchikan, the ship usually arrives around 7 a.m., but you have to be back on the ship by 1 or 1:30 p.m. This doesn't leave much time for exploration, especially considering that the last bus from the city leaves early around 11:45 a.m. or so. It's important to be mindful of the limited time available and plan your activities accordingly. Now, if you'd like to ask how much does it cost, it would be beneficial to compare the two main stops offered by NCL in different itineraries to gain more knowledge about them. Checking the duration of your stay in each port is crucial for your Alaska trip, especially if this is a one-time experience. Alaska cruises are not cheap, and you won't find any $119 for a three-night trip to Alaska. It can be more affordable if you travel at the beginning or end of the season. The Alaska cruise season typically runs from April to October, but going in April or early May or after school starts in the fall can offer better prices. However, keep in mind that some places may be closed at the very beginning or end of the season due to seasonal workers. Budgeting for shore excursions is important as they can be quite expensive. Helicopter tours, seaplane rides, and fishing trips are epic but costly experiences. On the other hand, there are relatively cheaper and enjoyable budget friendly options available through the cruise line. The more expensive excursions mentioned can start around $500 per person and go up from there. Utilizing discounts like the $50 off offered by NCL can help with the cost. There are budget friendly excursion options available through the cruise line, but you also have the option to explore and book excursions on your own. It's worth price matching the excursions offered by the cruise line, as sometimes it can be more affordable to book them independently. However, it's important to be mindful of the timing and ensure that you're back on board before the ship departs. For certain excursions like the train ride in Skagway, many of the passengers on the train are from the cruise line, so they will wait for them if there are any delays. Getting stuck in Alaska isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's always a good idea to keep an eye out for pricing and explore booking options on your own. It's important to note that an Alaska cruise is different from a Caribbean cruise in terms of the level of activity. In Alaska, you'll be up and about, walking around, and excursions tend to be more thrilling and active. While you can find some relaxing excursions, overall, it's a more active cruise experience compared to the Caribbean. If it fits within your budget, I highly recommend getting a balcony or at least an ocean view room for your Alaska cruise. Unlike the Caribbean, where you mostly see water, Alaska offers breathtaking scenery as you sail closer to land. The views, especially when cruising through the Inside Passage or near the glaciers, are remarkable. Having a balcony allows you to enjoy the glaciers from the comfort of your room without having to compete for space on the top deck. However, if a balcony is not within your budget, consider an inside room. Alaska has plenty of places on the ship where you can sit and enjoy the scenery. If your priority is experiencing activities like helicopter rides, seaplane tours, or bear sightings, allocate your budget towards those experiences rather than the cabin. Keep in mind that Alaska is more about the destination itself rather than the ship. It's about the incredible experience you'll have once you arrive. One thing to note is that at every port, you'll find jewelry stores like Diamonds International, similar to those found in the Caribbean. These ports also have souvenir shops, many of which are owned by big box companies and offer similar merchandise. When it comes to beach time on an Alaska cruise, it's not the same as lounging on the beach during a Caribbean cruise. Even on sea days, you won't see as many people sunbathing on the decks due to rougher seas. However, it is surprising that Alaska can have warm weather and the water can also be warm enough for swimming. But overall, the cruise experience in Alaska is not as relaxing as sailing to destination like the Bahamas, St. Croix, or St. Thomas in the Caribbean. Additionally, some ports may have early arrival times, and depending on the cruise line, you may have limited time in the port. This means you may need to wake up early and disembark the ship as early as 7 a.m. to make the most of your time exploring the town and seeing as much as possible. So it's important to keep in mind that the Alaska cruise experience is not as calm and relaxing as a typical beach-focused cruise. Many people are surprised to learn that the southern portion of Alaska, where you'll be cruising, is actually a rainforest. It's important to come prepared with a raincoat and rain boots when exploring the rainforest. Rain is quite common during an Alaskan cruise, although there's a possibility of having a rain-free day. It's advisable to dress accordingly and be prepared for rain at some point during the trip. Additionally, it can be quite windy, especially in the valleys where the ports are located. Carrying an umbrella or wearing a raincoat is recommended. It's worth noting that Alaska is also known for having large mosquitoes, with some jokingly referring to them as the state bird. They can be quite bothersome, particularly during the peak season from June to August. This season tends to be wetter with more rain and a high mosquito population. If you're taking a round trip from Seattle and return to the port of Seattle, there's a convenient service available. Typically, when you're on a cruise, you leave your suitcases outside your cabin the night before disembarkation, and they are collected for you to pick up later, similar to the process at an airport. However, the Port of Seattle offers an amazing service where they can take your bags directly to the Seattle airport if you sign up for it. This means you won't see your bags until you arrive at your final destination. The cost of this service is the same as if you were to bring your bags to the airline yourself. If you have frequent flyer miles that include baggage allowance, it applies to this service as well. It's a fantastic service that allows you to explore Seattle a bit more once you disembark from the ship. Now, for the last part, let's talk about Northern Lights. Alaska is known as the last frontier, and it offers a unique and adventurous experience. When people travel up north, one of the main things they hope to see is the Northern Lights. However, the chances of seeing the Northern Lights are higher at the very beginning or end of the season, particularly in October. It requires staying up late and keeping a lookout. For the rest of the season, it's less likely to see the Northern Lights due to the long daylight hours. In fact, even in May, the sun can stay up until around 11:30 p.m., so be prepared for extended daylight during your trip. Now, those are what you need to know before embarking on an Alaskan cruise. If you have something to share, feel free to comment down below. Once again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, happy travels!